Hi, it's Alaska Granny. One of my prepping goals is to add $10 into my prepping supplies every week. And I'm in the lower 48, so I was able to go to Dollar Tree, which means I can pick up 8 items at $1.25 a piece, and then I can add them into my prepping supplies. Let me show you what I bought for $10 and how I plan to use some of those items. Wherever you're shopping, if you're choosing canned foods, make sure you look them over, make sure there's no dents on them, nothing looks odd, because some of the cans have really become lesser quality. They're more likely to already be damaged when you go to the store. You also want to look at the date on your food and make sure that you're choosing food that has quite a long shelf life still left on it. If it's old stock and it's nearly out of date, that's not something that you want to buy to add into your stockpile, because the food is guaranteed to be top quality by that date. Lots of foods will last longer, but if you buy food that's already old, then you're not going to have the longevity that you really want in your food storage stockpile. I also try to find a variety, but if you see something you've never tried before, also just buy one, take it home and try it. You can always go back and get more. You don't want to load up on something that no one enjoys eating, and then you've wasted your prepping dollars, you've wasted your storage space. The first thing I bought is the Margaret Holmes seasoned field peas and snaps. It's like a mixture of beans and peas, and it's a different kind of little seasoned vegetables. Maybe it's Southern style. Maybe it's something you haven't tried before. Maybe you're familiar with it already. I find it quite tasty, and it's easy to open, and it already has some seasoned things. It's great to have dried beans on hand, because then when we have time, we can soak them and cook them, and that's going to be less expensive per serving than something that's in a can. But this is already prepared, it's already seasoned, and you can just open it and eat it. And if you couldn't heat it up, that would be okay too, because sometimes that's what we need. If we don't have a way in a real emergency and we need something to eat, we want some ready to serve food that we can eat right out of the can. Then I bought a can of Glory seasoned red beans and rice. This is a full meal, like you would get, say, a can of chili or a can of beefaroni or something like that. It's an entree in a can, so it's a full meal, which is going to give you a lot more filling calories than just, say, a vegetable. And then how often can you find rice and beans in a can? This is the only one that I'm familiar with, and it's actually pretty good. It's easy to just open and eat it, and for $1.25, I think it's worthy of earning its spot in my prepper pantry, because I think it's pretty tasty. Next, I bought a can of Glory seasoned butter beans. I have found that sometimes butter beans are in short supply, or maybe they're just not as popular and you can't find them as easily. And I've made a video before on how I've taken plain butter beans and seasoned them up, but heck, this saves me a step. And if I'm in a hurry or I need a quick meal or something to take out to my Alaska Granny Camp, which is my remote off-grid cabin, I have something that I could just open it and eat it. It doesn't require any other kind of preparation. Heating it up is always nice, but if we can't, we can't, and so that's still okay. We can learn to get by and be thankful for what we have. Then if I wanted to take something like the seasoned field peas and snaps or the butter beans, I can look into my prepper pantry, because I already have some hams. I could open up one of the canned hams and I could serve these as a side, and it would be a much more fulfilling meal that's going to have more variety. It's more like a normal meal that you could easily put into your food storage rotation. The nice thing about canned meats is they have a very long shelf life on them. I bought this one probably 2 years ago, and it's still dated 2027. And so if you can find some nice, at a price you can afford, canned meats, get them, because you can have that then going forward into the future. Food is becoming very expensive, harder to find, but if we add a little bit at a time and think about what can I put with the foods that I already have, and how can I make bigger, better, more nutritious meals, and even adding variety so that I don't have the boredom of just, say, rice and beans, beans and rice. Nobody wants to live like that, but we would if we needed to. But wouldn't it be nice to have a ham and some butter beans instead of just a bowl of rice and beans? Next, I bought a can of spaghetti sauce or pasta sauce, and this one is zesty, so it's got a lot of flavor in it. And sometimes just buying different varieties of pasta sauces can give you variety in your meals because they taste different. In my prepper pantry, I already have lots of pasta that I've stored in clean canning jars with tight-fitting lids. I vacuum sealed the lids, but you don't have to if you don't have a vacuum sealer, as long as you store them airtight in a cool, dark, dry place. Pasta is one of those foods that can last nearly forever. So macaroni and all the different shapes of pastas, but look out for egg noodles because they have eggs in them. They don't have the long shelf life that just plain pastas or macaronis do. I also like to stock up on just plain spaghetti or straight noodles because so many more of them can fit into a jar. I think there's nearly 2 pounds in this jar, and if you have, say, rotini or some of the curvy penne pastas, some of those other shapes, you can't fit nearly as much in a jar as you can with the straight noodles, and so that is a space-saving tip that I have for you. And so see, I can just take these 2 items and I could actually make a meal. You can also use the pasta sauce as a base for soup. Maybe you have some leftover meatloaf or some leftover meatballs or a little bit of ground beef. You could stir that in as well, and then you can have a more hearty soup. Add some vegetables, add some kidney beans, add some white beans. There's all kinds of different things you could add into a pasta sauce that can turn it into a nice filling soup. The next thing I bought at Dollar Tree is a 20-ounce bottle of mustard. Mustard can last nearly forever. It has vinegar in it, and it's a great condiment. It's very versatile. And think about all the ways that you could use mustard besides just adding it onto a sandwich. I like to put it into potato salad, egg salad. In my food storage, I have some cans of baked beans, and I like to jazz these up. So you can buy the least expensive baked beans and pour off some of the sauce that's already on them, and then you can add some mustard, you can add some ketchup, you can add some brown sugar, you can add some maple syrup, you can add some grilled onions, and you can bake those beans and really make them so delicious. Winter may not be the best barbecue season, but it's certainly a time when we can bake some of those nice, delicious ribs in the oven. I have a great recipe that I like to make a mustard dry rub on ribs, and I bake it. You just spread on the mustard, mix up some spices for a dry rub, and bake away. And oh my goodness, those ribs come out so tender and delicious. They're very good. I'll put a link to that video in case you'd like to try that mustard dry rub for baked ribs. I've been buying the Cheerios or the Toasted O's, the Honey Nut O's at Dollar Tree, and I find them to be really good. It's simple because in my prepper pantry I already have some shelf-stable milk, or I could buy the 2 together and have breakfast for most of the week. I like to eat oatmeal a lot, but I got tired of eating oatmeal and I'm enjoying eating Cheerios. And these are something that you can seal in a Mylar bag, but don't crush them with an oxygen absorber, and then you can actually have them last for a few years. But it's also a great idea to just have several boxes of cereal and then rotate through them. You don't want to necessarily put the cereal away for the longest lasting because it really isn't going to last forever. So rather than trying to go to the extra expense to put it in another package and store it away, just get a few of them and then rotate them. And as you use one, put it behind it. If they'll last 6 months and maybe you want to eat 1 box a month, maybe you want 6 boxes. And then as you rotate through them, replace them, and then you're always going to have a fresh supply of cereal. Same thing with crackers. I like the little whale crackers. They're like the Pepperidge Farm little goldfish crackers, and they're very tasty. So if I wanted to have a supply of crackers, maybe again I want to have 1 box per month for 6 months stockpile, then I can get 6 boxes, and then as I use one I can replace it, push them to the front of the shelf, put the new one in the back, and as you continue to rotate them, you'll continue to have a fresh supply, and the ones in the back extend out the length of time that your food will last. We don't necessarily want to store food we never plan to eat, and sometimes I think people get caught up with storing away so much food for the future, and they're not using that food, rotating and replacing that food. And that's how it makes me feel like I'm more successful at having my prepper pantry and my food storage storage stockpile serve me and my family is that we're rotating the foods and using it so that nothing is getting wasted. Sometimes things do get pushed in the back, or we forget about them or don't want to eat them anymore, and things do get wasted. And that's one reason to think about. Perhaps just like in your bank account, you want to have a little extra as a cushion. Think about adding maybe 5% extra into your food storage stockpile of the foods that you think you might have that you need enough of, and put in some extra in case something gets spoiled, knocked over, or broken, or you have extra meals that somebody extra ends up coming for dinner and you'll still have enough food for them. The last thing I bought is the Hydramate Hydration Support. They're little drink powders that are electrolytes that you just stir them into water. There's 2 envelopes, 2 little packets or sleeves in this box, and so that would be 2 bottles that you could have extra water and then have those added nutritional things that you need. Why might you want hydration support electrolyte drink mixes? Maybe somebody was sick, had a fever, or somebody did some intense exercise and needs to replenish the electrolytes in their system. Or if you're traveling to a very warm climate, then you would be perspiring more. Then you want to make sure that you're taking care of your body, that you're including the things that you need. So sometimes we need more than just water. We need some of the minerals and things that keep our body healthy. So those are the 8 items I bought for $10 to put into my Prepper Pantry food storage stockpile, and some easy ideas on how I plan to use them. So let us know in the comments below, what are you still finding at Dollar Tree? Is it getting harder to find things that you want? Because I notice at some of the Dollar Trees, the pickings are slim. It's getting harder to find variety, especially in some of the things that we used to see. Maybe they're disappearing, or shrinkflation. They're getting smaller. I hope you'll like my video, share my video, and please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel.